Bhai Sahib's already done the Japji Sahib Kathaa in full already. So they did it, I think it was John's time 550, right? When it was Guru Nanak Dev Ji's 550th Prakash Purab. So if you want to check out all that Katha as well, then you can. It's on a SoundCloud on the South London Sikh Youth SoundCloud page. So I'd highly recommend you check it out. Even at that time, there are loads of short clips coming out. And very Guru Kripa had a lot of interaction with the Sangat as well. And also, VG does Katha once a month on the first Thursday of every month in East London at Seven Kings Gurdwara Sahib. So I'm sure we've all got family in East London as well. So let them know about it and please do go down. They have a very similar, a great turnout once a month when they do that. And it's after the Katha, you have a Q&A in the Langar Hall and you have chips and beans, right? So if you just want to go for chips and beans, go for chips and beans and you'll get great Sangat as well. So I'll stop talking now. I'll pass over to Bhai Sahib. They do their talk on Japji Sahib. And also, we don't really get them to come down much, as in they do Katha, but this is an opportunity for you guys. If you want to ask questions afterwards, please think of questions now, whether that's related to Japji Sahib or anything that you may know about Amardeep Singh Ji, about, you know, his history in Seva, even in martial arts, whatever you want to ask, then please, you know, pick his brains now, because we're always fortunate to have him down, especially for a talk when you can ask questions as well. ठीक है, so I'll pass over to VG. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी का
WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm so grateful to be here, have a chance to share these teachings and learn with these teachings with you guys. We're a bit short on time, so we're going to just crack straight into it. But just before we start, to be here, as soon as you walk in the Darbar, there's just so much pyar when we come to Southall. I think it's because the journey downstairs is so good. Everybody's like so warm. So just before we begin the vichar, just to direct our minds to a place of gratitude. We could be anywhere right now, and if it wasn't for Guru Sahib's intervention, we'd be somewhere else doing something else. So to be here in the Charan of the Guru, let's open up our hearts from a place of gratitude. We're going to recite the Guru's mantra just 5 times together as one. WhyGuru, 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 WhyGuru. फिरत प्रभ आया परिया तो सरनाए नानक की प्रभ बेनती अपनी भगति लाए नानक की प्रभ बेनती नानक की प्रभ बेनती नानक की प्रभ बेनती अपनी भगति लाए परम सत्कारयोग गुरु खालसा परम सत्कारयोग गुरु खालसा गज वज के फतेह बुलाओ वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह. We're blessed to be in the company of Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj in their 11th and their eternal form as we undertake this journey, and it is a journey, as we undertake this journey of learning to find out who we really are inside through the teachings that was delivered from the heavens by Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj to those that were lost. And just as there were those lost then, there are those that are lost still. As we come to the Guru's Hazuri to take the Sikhiya away. And 2 weeks ago, the Ladivar Katha reached the 28th Bauri. Bhai Manpreet Singh Ji was going through the Katha, and the Sidhs were coming to Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj and speaking as the Sidhs would go on to try and coerce, trying to convert them. Just as a quick one-slide recap, they said to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, you should pierce your ears. You should carry a bowl for begging. You should take a stick with you that as you go from place to place, that you can use to give you support as you go from place to place to ask people to give you donations. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji would give those teachings, be munda santok sarampata joli dhyan ki karhe vibhuta Kinta Kala Kuari Kaya Jugat Danda Pratit. They say that we don't need to pierce our ears and wear earrings. We can wear the earrings of contentment within our heart. We don't need to carry a bowl around to beg before others, because the true way of showing humility is to have humility in our actions. Rather than placing a bowl outwardly to lower our ego, be sharam but. The Guru Sahib was saying, have sharam, have humility in your heart. And then really beautifully they go on to say, I don't need a stick to support me in this world. Jugat danda pratit. The danda that I have for support is the Shabbat of the Guru. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj is giving us his teaching that as we face our worldly problems in life, that we should look inwardly with the Shabbat. And I really like that because it's functional learning. We can take the Sikhi away. Just as we've left our problems outside, they're going to be there to meet us as we leave the Guru's Darbar. So we don't get consumed by them until next week's Kathaa. The Guru is saying, no, don't leave the Guru Darbar here, but take the Shabbat with you and enshrine that in your day, that you never really leave here. It's just a place you come and you charge up and you come and recharge next week. But we take that Shabbat with us, Jugat Danda Pratit, meaning that Pratit, that Shabbat, is actually our true support. And now we go on to the 29th body, the Sidhs who are relentless in their efforts to try and convert Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. The thought was that if Guru Nanak Dev Ji could be converted, that if they could be brought into the order of the Sidhs, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would bring all of their following. And we know from our history that they would try as they might. But every time they would come to Guru Nanak Dev Ji with their questions, with their wizardry, Guru Nanak Dev Ji would reveal an even higher teaching, an even higher Sikhya, one that we're still learning from in astonishment today. So the Sidhs now come to Guru Nanak and they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, be that bogat, that food that we eat every day, there would be somebody, a very high level status individual within the order of the Sidhs, and this person was in charge of the food. They were in charge of who could eat and how much they would be able to eat, when the bell would be rung, when the drum would be beaten for everybody to collect. And the Sidhs would all be in their own places doing their practices for the attainment of Ridhi and Siddhi, for occult powers. But when the bell would be rung, when the drum would be struck, they would leave those practices, they would come to one location, they would all eat that bhogat, they would eat the food. And then after doing so, they would go back. So the Sidhs say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they say, if you join our order, we will make you the Pandaran. You will place you in that role. You won't come in at the bottom and work your way up. We'll place you at the highest level. You'll be in charge of deciding when we get to eat and who gets to eat and how much. But this is such a great place. Everyone will be currying towards you. Everybody looking to seek your favor. And in this way, your position will be coveted and your growth, your name will get even greater in this world. And they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, this bhogat is like, it was made of flour and butter and sugar. It's a very simple food. They say, we will make you in charge of the pandar, of the store. And we'll also make you that, we'll give you that position of being the pandaran. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they would give a reply to that. They would say, Bhogat Gyanadaya Pandaran Kata Kata Vajjahinnath. What teaching is this that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would reveal? They would say, you're telling me that you'll put me in charge of that bhogat, of that food. And in times of scarcity, we've only got to go back a few years to COVID, when civilized people were told that there might be a shortage of toilet rolls or badam, and everybody's fighting. So we can see real life context that food in scarcity, like the Sidhs, they were eating once a day. The person in charge of that, when you have a real life situation, not like right now you can order and it will be at your house by Deliveroo, but in a situation of scarcity, we can understand from our own experiences just 3 years ago how people can get quite crazy when it comes to a scarcity of food. So this really was a coveted position. And what does Guru Nanak Dev Ji say? They say no. They say that which you offer me, this worldly food, is not what I'm here for. They say the true food that we should come here to consume, Bhogata Gyan. They say the true food that I've come here to consume is knowledge. Brahm Gyani ka Bhojan Gyan. Says Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, the fifth form of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, that the only food that a Brahm Gyani, that the aspiring Gursikh should seek to consume, is that knowledge. What knowledge is it that we speak of? Is it the computer science degree that we're looking for from Queen Mary's? Just shout out to my university there in East London. No. What knowledge is it? Is it about what's going to happen to Bitcoin next week? No. What knowledge is that Guru Maharaj is talking about? Be knowledge about who we really are inside. We've been lacquered from such a young age with our name and our aspirations being forced upon us, particularly if you're from an Asian background. You're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to get a degree, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And we've been lacking within identity, we've forgotten who we really are inside. And when we don't know who we are, we don't really know what we should be trying to aspire to become. I'm going to say that again. So when we don't know who we really are, if we think, and I'm just talking to myself here, but you can join in your own conversation. If I think that my name's Amandeep Singh, that I live in East London, that's where I'm really from, that I'm actually a solicitor, that's my real purpose in life, you can see how that's going to send me on a certain journey. That cupboard really wants to get involved in the conversation. And so, what Guru Maharaj is saying is, Manatu Jyot Saroop hai, apana moola pachan. They say, you, as they speak to our hearts, as they speak to our souls, Guru Maharaj speaks to us in a way that nobody hitherto has ever spoken to us since, before or after. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, be mana, be recognize this, tu Jyot Saroop hai. You are the light of God. Be apana mool pachan. All you really have to do is recognize who you really are inside. And I think that's really liberating, man. Because oftentimes we can get so overwhelmed with thinking about who we've got to become. Who we've got to become. What mountain we've got to climb. And the Guru is saying, yo, everything that you need is already within you. It's not about getting somewhere or going somewhere. It's about realizing who you already are. And I think that makes it a little bit easier. That what we have to do is not climb a mountain outwardly, but look inwardly to realize that jyot that's inside. Be apana mool pashan, be recognize who you really are. Sad Sangat ji, just a quick departation for just a quick moment on this point. Just came to my mind. On that journey inwardly to recognize who we really are, a large part of that for me, as I was doing the chords for the Kathaa just last week, if you want the signposts back to a place that you came from, that you've lost, you have to find those that will help you on that journey. And to remember those that have helped you on that journey so far is a part of that road to the true knowledge about who you really are. Recognizing those that have helped you and giving that thank you and saying thank you and being in a state of appreciation. We often think that if somebody has helped us, that that's the end of that journey. For me personally, I realize that when somebody helps us and they've given us knowledge, that's one aspect of a relationship. But also when somebody helps us, it gives us an opportunity to show satkar, to show love. And love is the essence of who we really are. So anybody in our lives, through their efforts to help you, that allows you to have a bridge with that person, is actually showing you a way to practice love and appreciation. And in a world that's so scarce, and in a Western place where everybody's so keen to take, value those relationships, man. Celebrate those relationships that you have with our brothers and sisters that have helped each other. Because really and truly, only we benefit from those relationships. Through practicing appreciation, through practicing gratitude. It's really interesting that when I'm lucky enough to see those that have taught me Sikhi, and there are many, the list is endless, I always show them a lot of respect. And all these years, I always thought that by doing so, I was improving their condition. How can you improve that person that's been making you who you are? You can't. The practice of showing satkar and showing love is actually giving you real knowledge about what love is. Because love comes from appreciation and gratitude. So Maharaj is saying to us, to me, as I unravel this pankti, show love, man. Don't be so reluctant to show love, especially to those that have been a part of your journey into Sikhi. Some of the Singhs say to me, they say, you show too much respect, man. I don't think we can show too much respect. If we're not going to show respect and love to those that have helped us along our journey, who are we reserving the right to show love and respect to? How are we going to have that gyan in functional, practical terms if we're not practicing it in our day-to-day emotions? So I say this, the world is teaching you be reserved. The world is teaching you stand off. The world is teaching you don't shake his hand until he shakes yours. Ask yourself this, the guys that are teaching you those lessons about how to operate in the world, look at their faces and see if they're smiling or if they're frowning. Yeah? Look at their faces and see if there's happiness behind those instructions. And you'll realize that they don't have that true knowledge. And Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj from our Itihas teaches us that the way is the way of love. So Guru Sahib is saying, Bhogata Gyan, that you're saying to me that you're going to give me knowledge, that knowledge, that you're going to say you're going to give me charge of the food, be the true knowledge, that the true food that I seek in this world is knowledge. And that knowledge which I'm seeking isn't worldly knowledge, but knowledge to take me beyond this world. And they say, you're going to make me the Bandaran. You're going to allow me to distribute the food, but yours lost, he says to the Sidhs. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, they are Bandaran. There's only one true Bandaran in this world. And that is mercy, that is compassion. If we don't have love, if we don't have compassion in our hearts, we can't give anything. And who is the greatest giver of all of the gifts? We've heard it so many times, and I'm sure it's been recounted and recapped as we've gone through the weeks because it's such an important lesson. But what is it that is the most, who is the greatest giver? Be Sabana Jia, you can all join in. Sabana Jia ka ikadata so me visarana jai. There's only one giver. It's really interesting. I was listening to Kathaa from Bhai Paramjit Singh Ji from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy. Highly recommend them. If you've got time, listen to their Kathaa. They've got a SoundCloud page. For some reason, the Kathaa is amazing. They're just not probably very good at advertising it. It's not very well recognized. It's like a gem on SoundCloud, the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy. And they give an example. They say, in nature, which is a great teacher to us, they say, in nature, anything that stands still, or even in this world, anything that stands still eventually dies or loses its value. So, for example, water, the source of life for all of us. We're 80% water, and we need water. After 2 days, we won't even exist after 2 or 3 days without any water, right? Water flows. It's constantly traveling from one place to give life to another. And when you try and stop that process and you try and intervene and you try and keep that, and you say, I'm going to be in charge of what happens, then that water becomes stagnant and it dies. If we keep money in our bank accounts, again, if you give an example of money, right? So money is not water, you say. But if you leave money in an account for long enough with inflation, that which was worth enough to buy a house, 30 years later, in houses in East Ham, my dad tells me like 6-7 grand. Now they're 600 grand in the space of 30 years. So money left in an account, Maya in a worldly sense. And so Guru Sahib, so the teaching that is coming from this is that whatever we have, we should give. And that what we should do is we should have a bandaran of what we have, that we should give that. And in this way, that which we have will blossom in the company and in the service of others. We shouldn't hold on to things with such a tight hand, because if we do this, that which is beautiful will become very elusive and will lose the beauty of that thing. Gyani Kalwan Singh Ji talks about this, and they say something really beautiful, and I love to share this. It's really, really helped me. They say, whatever you want in life, whatever you think is lacking in your life, the way to cultivate that, to bring that in abundance in your life, is to give it to other people. I was like, Gyani Ji, what are you talking about? How can you obtain something by giving it? Because we've all been brought up, I say all, I'll make an assumption. The majority of us have been through the Western education system, right? And we've been taught that this is a competition, that we've got to compete with somebody else. That for me to achieve, that he can't achieve as good as me, I've got to put him down. But Gyani Ji, what they're saying is that truly, whatever you want, it's not a competition. It's not about beating that person to it, like on Crystal Maze or some TV show, that if I get it first, it is secured and nobody else will be able to beat me to it. What Gyani Ji is saying is that the true essence of everything that we want is actually to be happy. That everything that we do isn't of itself of any value, it's because of how we think it's going to make us feel. So for example, you might think, I want a house. You don't really want a house. You don't love bricks that much. You want a house because you think it'll make you feel happy and secure. You want to get married, you want to get into a relationship so that you can progress and have a family, so that you'll think that will give you contentment and happiness. You want to upgrade your car because, again, it's not that you've got an affinity towards those cars. You haven't got shares in those companies. It's because we feel that those things are going to give us happiness. So what Gyani Ji is saying is ultimately what you really want is happiness. And the best way to have happiness in your life is dedicate a part of your life to making other people happy. And I thought, that goes against everything we've been taught in a capitalist sort of Western understanding of things. But if we were to dedicate just a small part of our time away from fretting on our problems and focusing on serving other people, you'll know that the contentment that gives you. The happiest people that we know are the most dayalu. If you look at your nanni or your bibi or your chachi or your pua or your masi, they were constantly faffing around you, trying to find a way to serve you. And they were far happier about that process than we are. We seem to have lost this. I'm not talking to anybody in particular, but as a generation, it's become very much about taking. We lose everything when the mentality is about taking, man. And we gain everything when we become daya pandaran. When we recognize that which is in our store, let's give it, man. Let's serve the Khalsa Panth. And in this way, you'll reach such an avastha that you'll know the true value of true wealth. So Maharaj is saying, daya pandaran. They're saying to the Sidhs, they're saying, you're talking to me about being a pandaran, but there's only one that's a pandaran, and that's daya. Another point in this Sadh Sangat, that if we're ever lucky enough to do something, Guru Maharaj is explaining to us that when we serve others, before we get taken from a place of ego, some of us may have done langar seva downstairs before we come upstairs. We come upstairs with a sense of achievement. And Guru Sahib is saying, don't even for a second think that there's something special about you, because there is one that is instilled in your heart, in your mind, the forna to serve. Even the chance to serve somebody, to improve someone's condition, is by the bakshish of the Guru that you've had that gyan, right? Bhogata gyan. So before we get taken from a place of ego that, yo, that person owes me, I've done something, and we get taken in this way. And then from that we have expectations, and that's a horrible place to end up. People not meeting our expectations. Maharaj is saying that when you ever have a chance to serve, if you're lucky enough to serve the Sangat in any capacity, before you get taken from a place of ego, just recognize that forna, that thought in your mind to serve, even that was a blessing from the giver of all gifts. So say thank you. Jagraj Baji would often say this. They would say, why is everyone so proud to be Sikh? Because we didn't make it. We're just lucky to be a part of it. What we should be doing is opening up our hearts and saying, Yo Maharaj, thank you for letting me be involved. I'm not worthy. Whatever I've done nothing. But whatever may have happened through me, it's by your blessings and by your mindset and by your Sikhi. Abhi Tanavad, Maharaj. That if I should go past somebody who's hungry and think of Guru Nanak Parchar's langar and serve them, it wasn't my langar, it was your langar. And in this way, we go on to Gat Vajjahinad. They say, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, honestly, can you imagine talking to the most spiritually elevated people of the time and just educating them as if they were children? This is what Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji would be doing to the Sidhs. They say, you speak about giving me the power to strike the drum, to call everybody for the food. They say, Gat Vajjahinad. They say, I don't dance to your tune. Quite literally, Maharaj is saying, I don't dance to your tune. Because the tune that I dance to, Gat Vajjahinad, that sound, that drum beat, that I will march to, that I will stand for attention to, that I will call the Sangat towards, Gat Vajjahinad, is the sound of Parmeshwar of WhyGuru vibrating within me. Akho Satanam Siri. Says Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, we say, you're telling me you're going to give me a drum to call the people to eat. Why would I meditate upon that drum when within me resides the name of God? Gat me harju base santan kehe upakar. Says Guru Nanak Parchar in their 9th form. The saints will talk about this, that Parmeshwar of WhyGuru, they reside within our hearts. There's an example of this. There's a reporter. Some say they were a reporter. Gyanikal Wansinji refers to them as a reporter. Others talk about a person born into a Sikh family that lacked Sharda. And they would come to Sant Janel Singh Ji, a Divan one day, and they see Sant Ji doing a speech. And oftentimes Sant Ji would fall under criticism because, it's a beautiful picture of Sant Ji there. And they would fall under criticism because unlike the Granthis and the Gyanis that would perhaps only speak of Kathaa on the stage, they would do political statements for Rajniti about how we should assemble, how we should support each other, how we should back our people. They would speak about things like loyalty and courage and having strength and weapons, and that our mind should be a weapon. We should give up alcohol and all these controversial things that wouldn't be spoken of. Sant would speak fearlessly on these things. And on one occasion, they were doing a political speech and somebody would come into the Sangat, a reporter, and Gyanikal Wansinji, they narrate this event. And in their mind, they're thinking, who is this person that outwardly is speaking outwardly takes on the garb of a religious person, but inwardly, they're speaking from a place of politics. What is this? Why are they speaking about assembly in this way? And the Singhs themselves had enough gyan to read this person's mentality, and they go, look, let's do this person a favor. Because the Sangat is that way, dayalu. Rather than looking and judging, they look from a place of service. How can I improve this person's condition? They grab him and they go, let's go and have a quick chat with Sanji. Come closer. And Gyanikal Wansinji, they speak about this, that they bring that person forward, and Sant Janel Singh Ji, they embrace them and they bring them very close to their heart. And it's written that report was spellbound because all they could hear was Siri Sukhmani Sadapat vibrating from the Hirda, from the heart of Sant Janel Singh Ji Khalsa Pindrawale. WhyGuru, 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 WhyGuru. Sangat ji, why are we here? As we come to the Guru's Darbar Amandeep Singh, we should be thinking, who do I want to be? Who is it that I'm trying to progress towards? We go to our chemistry lectures, we go to our law lectures, our computer science, whatever course we're studying, whatever job we're working at, and as we drive to that location, we're thinking about promotion, we're thinking about angling, we're thinking about making moves. In any which way we look at it, we're making moves, we're trying to, wherever we are. We come to the Guru Gar Amandeep Singh, we should be directing our mind inwardly, what am I here to do? And if we came with that in our mind, that what is it specifically that I'm trying to achieve, be apana mool pachan, in this way, these teachings will strike a different chord. They won't be just stored in our minds. Let's try and store them in our actions. Kat Vajja Hinad, says Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, there's no need for you to give me the power of the drum or the flute or whatever it is that you call your people together with to eat. For I march to a different tune. I march to the tune of Parmeshwar of WhyGuru as they vibrate in my very heart. The Sidhs say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj will make you Nath. Nath is the leader of all the Sidhs. Gorakhnath, the very famous Sidh. I'm sure they've come up in the Itihas before this time. Gorakhnath, very respected, of the highest order. They say, if you join our order, we'll make you Nath. We'll give you a title, and you will be the highest of the high. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Aap Nath, Nathi Sab Jaki. They said, there's only one Nath. Who are you fooling? There's only one true Nath. Sabajaki, and they're in charge of everything. Rather than leading your community, I'll serve at that one's feet. I'll serve at that Parmeshwar of WhyGuru, at their feet I will serve. The Sidh said, you're not getting it. If you join with us, we will teach you such a way that you will become like a wizard. I think we've got a picture of a great wizard. If anybody can point out who this is not Sikh history. But, anybody know who this is? This is embarrassing. You guys didn't have a Sega Mega Drive? PS2? I can't help you people, man. Huh? We had a little joke about this, that I said there'll be someone in the Sangat that would know. You know who this is, right? This is Dalsim from Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2 changed things. Back when arcades were 25p a pop, you could... No? Okay. Research him, do some chords in Dalsim. So Dalsim was like one of the key fighting characters in the first person arcade. Anyway, lost on you guys, man, sorry. So the Sidh said to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, if you join our order, we'll give you the Ridhi and Siddhi, we'll teach you the ways of wizardry, where you can control the elements. The Ridhi is very interesting. I did the research for this again. And Ridhi means that you can that which is finite, you can make infinite. There's only one Ridhi. Only one Ridhi. And that is the ability to make that which is finite. So for example, a pizza's got 8 slices. That will always be the case. You can cut it up, but the size of that pizza will always be 8 slices in mass, yeah? But if you've got a Ridhi, you've got the ability to make that pizza serve 100 people. Sant Baba Attar Singh Ji Mastiyanwala, they would have this ability in the langar. Maharaj talks about this. They say, langar challe gur shabata har tod na ave khatti hai. That the Shabbat of the Guru will never run out, that the langar of the Guru never runs out. And it is said on one occasion, this was proven, that when the Sangat came, unexpectedly, thousands of Sangat came to the Darbar. And there was only langar for the usual people that were expected. And Baba Attar Singh Ji, they would say, cover up the bowl that we're serving from, and just keep vartaying the langar, don't worry, just chak it on. We're going to serve the Sikhs, the forgers come, we're going to serve from our hearts, but But they covered up the top of the patilla, and they carried on, and everybody was received this langar. Many times in history this has been recorded, where the langar would not run out. This is a riddhi, to take that which is finite and be able to serve it infinitely. There's 18 Siddhiya, which is like Siddhis, which is like spiritual powers. We're going to just touch upon these because Maharaj themselves are saying they're not important. They say, Rid Siddh Avarasad. They say, you're offering me these Ridhi and Siddhiya. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, this is not the way of my house. Rid Siddh Avarasad. This has no sweetness to me. The Siddhs are like, you can make yourself big and small. You can make yourself heavy and light. You can control people's thoughts. You can read people's minds. You can persuade people. You know? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, Rid Siddh Avarasad. They go, all of these things that you are offering me, I've got no sweetness for these things. Because why? We're going to learn in the next Pankti. Maharaj says, Sanjog Vajog Doi Karj Lave Lekhe Ave Pag. They're saying, all of these things which you're offering me to have the powers of, to have the wizardry of, but you should understand this. That which is going to occur by the will of Parmeshwar WhyGuru will occur anyway. Chinta ta ki kijiye jo anhoni hoye. Maharaj says, why are you worrying so much about trying to control things? Make your best efforts, have a go. Beyond that, have a little bit of faith. There's a greater power in this world that has been here long before we have, and long after we shall pass. We make the best effort that we can, but have a little bit of faith in our Guru. And Guru Maharaj is saying, Sanjog, you're coming into this world. Vijog, you're leaving this world. Sanjog, you're meeting people. Vijog, you're being separated from them. Doikar Jalave, this is all down to our karam. Lekhe ave pag. And in this way, that which is preordained by our own actions will determine what's going to happen. You think Ridhi and Siddhi are going to change that? You think you can do a magic trick to avoid that which you've done, or that which you're entitled to? And so Maharaj is giving us this teaching. Very interesting incident that occurred at the time of Sant Kartar Singh Ji, a great Mahapurukh, where they were heading, the Sangat asked Sant Ji to go to a certain location, and they were travelling in their vehicle with the Singhs. And there was another Gurmukh, the Gurvai, by Gurmukhi Ji, and they were in the car as well. And halfway on the journey, I think they were going to Shimla, because the Sangat had asked them to come. Sant Kartar Singh Ji, they get out, they stop at a place, and they say to the Singh, please switch places with me. I'm sure many of you have heard this example before, but it's in the context of this Pankti that the teaching will give us something new. And they say, switch places with me, and then they switch places by Gurmukhi Ji, the Gurvai. And then on the rest of that journey, there was an accident, and that place that he was otherwise reserving for himself, which he'd given to the Singh, received a lot of injury in a car accident, and he passed from this, and they would go on to receive injuries, they would go to hospital. It was within their power through receiving treatment, but I won't go into the details, but suffice to say, Sant Kartar Singh Ji, they said, no, it's my time to go. Sanjog Vajog Doi Karj Lave Lekhe Ave Pag. When it was their time to leave this world in accordance with the hukum, they moved into that seat. They didn't run away from that death, but they moved into that place which was preordained by them. I think that's really interesting. Because some of us, and I'm speaking again primarily to myself here, we're so scared about that which might befall us, but when we reach the avastha that the Guru reserves for their Gursikhs, that walk the path of the Guru, be that which is our hukum that we see slightly out of our line, we'll run towards it no matter what it might be. And I think again, that's quite liberating. And this is what we should be aiming for. I'm not there by any means. Something goes not expected to what I think it should be, and I'm in a complete fit of emotions and a state of mind that I shouldn't be in. But at least I know what we should be aiming for. And this is the point. When we're walking around aimlessly, not knowing what we're trying to achieve, then even the easiest lesson will be lost on us, as we don't seek to take it up. A friend of mine, I've got to be careful about the details. A friend of mine, such a beautiful soul, just came to my mind now. He's had a child, and the child has developed this disease. And the short version of it is this beautiful little thing that he shows no signs of illness, but the brain is going to develop in such a way that within the next 3 years, the child's not going to be here anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's fine. They go, look, he's fine now, but this is a 1 in a million disease. At 3 years old, he's fine, but at 4 and 5 and 6, which is the ages that these certain genes are supposed to develop in the brain, he's not going to develop them, and he's going to lose the ability to self sort of, I think he said it'll be to do with his breathing. And there's no machines, there's no medicine for it. He goes, it's it, he's going to be gone. And I was completely baffled by how he was able to process this. And he said to me, Amandeep, he does a lot of Bhat. He said to me, Amandeep Singh, as he's in the hukum, we have to remain within the hukum, otherwise what are we doing? We ain't playing. We're not here to play, right? We're not playing dress up. And I'm not at that place. But when we're in the Sangat, what we get is a blessing of being in the company of those that are there. Why is that so important? Why is it so important to have the company of those that are better than us? Why is it so important to celebrate that rather than compete against that? Because it's in the company of those that are at that avastha that we can be comforted that, yo, it can be done. We're so used to competing with each other and trying to bring each other down to our level that we don't see the beauty of having top people in our company that we can say, you're the example to who I want to be. Thank you so much. One of the Singhs said to me once, he said, when you think about Baba Deep Singh Ji, I just get so depressed. I go, why? Because you hear about their Jeevan, that they would train for 3 hours a day, they would do Simran for 3 hours a day, they would do Bhat for 3 hours a day, they would do Seva for 3 hours. Because I can never get there. I go, why are you looking to compete? If you had the top man in your team, wouldn't you be like, yeah, I've got a good guy in my team? And any other circumstance on the football pitch, we would look at that and go, look, we want the best people in our team. We wouldn't worry about that. We'd just be like, look, you're the people that make this real for me. I'm not with you. I'm not anywhere near you, but I'm glad you're with me. And so these thoughts come to our mind. When we look at these examples, we can get quite downtrodden. We can get quite upset. How am I supposed to be there? And I think the examples that we have in those that are around us, and the examples of Sant Kartar Singh Ji in that example, which is so far ahead of my own avastha right now, they're not there to berate us. They're there to say, yo, it can be done. Yaman Singh, this is the path. If you walk the path, if you avoid the bogat, and you get the gyan, that if you avoid the temptation of becoming the Pandaran and chasing this world, and realize the Hirda is really where your heart should be in the name of God. If you avoid getting pumped, that you want to become a Nath, and you realize there's only one Nath, as we travel through this body. If you avoid the wizardry of the Ridhi and Siddhi, and you realize that actually that's not your path, you realize it just comes back to just being in the hukum. And Sadh Sangat Ji, this is the prevailing message that comes to me from this body today as we come to the end of this section. Be everything in accordance with the will of Parmeshwar WhyGuru is going to happen anyway. It's chill. And make our best efforts without the stress, and you'll find that our efforts without stress will be far more effective. Ades te say Ades. Says the Guru, I bow to that one, humbly over and over again always. Ades te say Ades. Ad Anil Anad Anahata Jugu Jugu Eko Vesa. You were that one that was there. You were the singular one. Ad, the primal one. Anil, that one that has no neel, no blemish upon their being. Ad Anil Anad, that one who was there at the beginning. You're beyond the beginning, but you were there at the beginning. In other words, you were always with me. There was never a time during the course of my small existence, from my beginning. Obviously, there's a cosmic example here of beyond time, but bringing it back to our own lives and our own reality. Guru Sahib is saying, look, I'm with you. I was with you when you were born. I was with you before that too. Anahata, that there's no need for me even to be brought. There's nothing that needs to be done for me to be brought into existence. Jugu Jugu Eko Ves, and I'm always consistent. In other words, don't look to those in this world who change their colours. Not through any fault of their own, but they're human beings. People make mistakes, man. We place so much reliance on people, and then they let us down. And we feel entitled to blame them. Who gave us the right to place all of our expectations and rights and obligations on other people that they themselves have made mistakes like we do? Guru Sahib is saying, Jugu Jugu Eko Vesa. My form has never changed. My clothes has never changed. In other words, the Guru is perfect. They are beyond time, and they will always be giving you the same jawab of truth. It's about time, Sadh Sangat Ji, it's about time, Amandeep Singh, that we stop looking outwardly into the world and we start coming to the Guru, not just physically, but actually to a place of reliance. Be Sacha Naam Mera Adaro. You are the perfect form, and you are the one that really will never ever, you are the one really that will always exceed my expectations. You are the one that is always there and always consistent. You've never changed on me. And it's my fault for looking elsewhere when we should be looking to the Guru. So this is the Sikya that has been coming to my mind in this 29th body of Siddhi Japji Sadapad. Next week, as we continue the journey, the Khalsa will share with you the teachings and the further tricks and the further tests that the Sidhs put to Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj when they start talking about Brahma, Vishnu and Shivji and the different aspects of the Trinity and who their mother and father are. As the Guru gives those teachings, you are the Sangat of the Guru. I must have made many, many mistakes. I feel so grateful to be here to have a chance to share with you. I remember coming here as a Monna at university, listening to the sings with my little short back and sides, shockwaves gel in my hair, not knowing where I was going to go or what was going to happen. And Jagraj would be here and he would enlighten everybody with his wonderful smile. And now, looking before all of you, I'm so excited to see how you're all going to excel and surpass all of us and just become like the wizards, not like in the Ridhi Siddhi sense, but in those. It's so exciting seeing so many of you coming through. And it's just looking forward to a day when there's going to be so many Kathaa coming out of this Astan. So once again, you're the Sangat of the Guru. I ask for your forgiveness and your blessings. But please bless us all, Sangatji, that we can merge with the Charan of the Guru and that we can take these teachings, we can listen to them, we can believe them, and most importantly, they can influence our lives and our actions, that tomorrow is a brighter day as we have this gyan, this weapon to help us deal with the mental difficulties that we face tomorrow and the days thereafter. Be lekhe kathena shutiye kin kin pullanhar baksanhar baksale nanak pare utar deho sajna sisira jo hove sab jo mel WhyGuru ji ka Khalsa WhyGuru ji ki fateh. So I think we've got I've not been here before. We've got a few minutes for cool. We've got like 10 minutes if there's any questions. I'm sure I've made some mistakes. If anyone wants to point out my mistakes and my shortcomings, if I've made a mistake or I've missed something, please educate me, educate us all. There's no hierarchy here. We're all just trying, huh? Yo. So the Sidhs, I've actually written them down, but because I was trying to apply the teachings of the good, we can go through the Sidhs just for a delicacy, if you will, like a dessert, right? We can go through it. But Maharaj goes on to say, the reason I didn't spend so much time on it is Maharaj says, Ridhi Siddhi avara sad. They say this path of Ridhi and Siddhi are there for other people. So when I was thinking of it, I was like, Amandeep Singh, if Maharaj is saying it's not that important, we don't spend too long educating the Sangat about that which is not within our Maharaj, if that will. But we did make a note of them, and look at my man TJ, I don't know how he's done that. Look at that. He's put them in boxes and everything. I should respect you more, bro, you know that? Okay, so we've got the primary Sidhs, which is like to change your size and your weight to be able to make yourself be like. If you think of Hanuman, if you grew up listening to Sakya of Hanuman and things like this, and then you've got the small Siddhya, which is more about controlling the mind, being able to persuade other people. You know, I think that my singing has probably got us through this Siddhya. I find myself washing the dishes, and I'm like, how am I ended up in this situation? You know, how have I ended up in this situation altogether? And you think, yeah, anyway. This is not live on Instagram, so I'm sure you're going to not cut that out, are you? No. Safe. How you doing? So there's, the Ridhi and Siddhi is there. But we want to avoid, the point being is this, and this is a really important, this is something that I found really important, and what really sets Sikhi apart, right? So my background is I'm a contract lawyer. I litigate when contracts go wrong. A contract happens, someone doesn't perform an obligation, we go to court, and then we're arguing about who was right and who was wrong in that contract. That's what I've spent my adult life sort of doing. And when I was reading about the different faiths, when I was getting into Sikhi, I went to the mosque, I went to other places. Just in a place of like, you want to just absorb all information. I went to all these different places. I'm not berating anybody, but I'm going to just be honest with you. You're in the Sangat of the Guru, right? What I've found in my experience, in my heart, was that the Abrahamic faiths of this world are very much aligned with the Sidh sort of mentality. If you do this, you'll get that. Very transactional, like a contract. That if you transfer me this much money and give me 60 days credit, I'll give you this much time in this buddhi, in this sort of temporary heavenly place. And it's very much about rivers of wine if you do this, or virgins in this place if you do that. And it's very much based on a transaction. And I was coming into Sikhi anyway because I fell in love with the Singhs. I was just like, you guys are like wizards, man. Like, who are you people? I came in from a family family of pub owners. Most of my family are in sort of like the pub industry, or they've been heavily involved in other shenanigans of that sort. And so coming into Sikhi, for me, it was like a complete shock. I wasn't in any way sort of involved in sort of the Sangat or like going to the Gurdwara. And when I found out about Sikhi, what struck me as an outsider, if you will, yeah, was that Sikhi is the opposite of that, genuinely. There's no transactions. Maharaj is talking about selfless actions from a place of love. There's a pankti, Maharaj says, Raj na chaho, mukt na chaho, man preet charan kamalare. They say the world's divided into two groups of people. This really is what Sikhi is all about. Maharaj says, there's two groups of people in the world. There are those that are trying to get religious and those that ain't. Those that ain't are chasing money. They want to become kings, pop stars, Instagram what? Huh? Instagram heroes, yeah? So they want to become Raj in this world, right? And the other lot are trying to become religious. They go like, we want to mug those guys off and we want to become in a heavenly place. We've got riches and virgins and all these sorts of things. And Guru Arjan Dev Ji smashes it, man. They just absolutely deal with both groups of people. They say, Raj na chaho, I don't want Raj. Keep Instagram, yeah? They say, Mukt na chaho, I don't even want liberation. What you might say? All we've been hearing all this time is about liberation and mukti and Sachkhand, right? Guru Arjan Dev Ji deals with it, man. They say, Raj na chaho, Mukt na chaho. Because keep Raj and keep mukti. Just give me one thing. And this is what, when I heard this, it would change my whole understanding, and I realized this is what love is. Man preet, Raj na chaho, mukt na chaho, man preet charan kamalare. They go, just do me one turn. Just do me one solid. But just allow me to always be attached to your feet. I don't want anything, man. You keep heavens. If you want to send me to Nark, send me to Nark. You want to send me to heaven? Dami theek hai. But just do one thing. Keep me by your feet. That's love. There's no transaction there. As a contract lawyer, you said, don't sign that. But this is the game of love, right? When you're in love, you'll do anything for anybody with no any expectation of return, right? And Sikhi, when Guru Sahib is saying, "E man meriya tu sada raho, e man meriya tu sada raho har nale." Maharaj is talking from a place of love. We're going to hear it in a second, I think, when the sings do an answer the part, right? There's nowhere you'll experience this, man. We've been in the world. I'm very grateful to have had a very fulfilled life. I've been many places in the worldly sense. I've been nowhere until I met the Sangat of the Guru. And those that have travelled elsewhere will probably tell you the same thing too. We're blessed to be here, Sad Sangat Ji. Have you any other questions? Yo. Welcome, bro. Have you found the Divan? Have you found the experience? Really beautiful question. Okay, thank you for your question. And also, again, deeply from my heart, man, I'm really grateful that you're here. Like, nobody is here through their own efforts. You should feel very grateful to be here, because to be here is by the blessings of the Guru. And if you look inside your heart, you'll realize that it's a very warm feeling here. And I really, really hope you keep coming back. My brother Sukhi will probably have a chat with you. Huh? Yeah, good shout, good shout. There's the experience talking there, the Southwell experience, yeah? So, firstly, from my heart, deeply thank you. And before you go, we'll have a chat. Maybe we'll introduce, if I'm not sure how you're plugged in, we'll introduce some of the singers as well, Hannah. So the question was, why was it that Sikhi was discovered so late? And this brings up my favorite topic in Sikh Dharma, right? Guru Nanak Dev Ji speaks about how the world was before they came. They say, Kalkati Raje Ka Sai, Taram Pankar Udriya, Kura Mavasa, Sach Chandarma, Dise Nahi Kehe, Chariya. They say this world was so dark, people were so corrupted in this world before the Guru came to the earth, right? They say, Kalkati Raje Ka Sai, the kings that are supposed to be custodians of their people, they're supposed to serve their people, they've taken blades and they started butchering their own people for their own protection. Kalkati Raje Ka Sai, the kings have become like butchers. Taram Pankar Udriya, that righteousness, all the truth has flown away. And so the whole world is suffering because that which should be right is all turned on itself. And everybody's become corrupt. And the way that it's described by Gurdas Ji is that the whole world is being weighed down by people that are not getting along. Hindus are fighting with Muslims. Muslims are fighting with Hindus. The Hindus are fighting with themselves based on their own castes, right? So in all of this arguing and fighting, there's all this ego and suffering human beings have demonstrated. When we don't get along, we're at our worst, right? And so Maharaj says that in all of that difficulty, the earth itself cried out. The tarti, the earth that we stand on, was being weighed down, not by the weight of all of our feet, but by all of the spiritual sin and hatred and animosity, right? So the weight of the earth was, the weight being borne by the earth by so much ego and hatred was so much that the earth cried out to the heavens and said to the heavens, we send someone, send yourself, we suni pukar datar prabh Guru Nanak jag mahi pataya. Hearing the pains of suffering of the earth, WhyGuru took their own physical form and came to the earth to liberate everybody from that darkness. And what Guru Nanak Dev Ji did was very, very simple, but it would change the whole world. And chances are you've seen it, but you've never really seen it. They saw everybody suffering. They saw everybody not talking to each other. They saw everybody warring with each other, and they put a flag in the ground. And that flag went very high. And when you leave this darbar today, my brother, look to your left. You'll see the same flag. And that flag, which goes very high in the sky, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said to the whole world, yo, it don't matter to me who you are or where you come from. Come to the base of this flag, and if you're hungry, I will feed you. And they started serving langar. And then later times, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji would say, if you're being threatened, if your people are being persecuted, come to my house. My people have weapons, and they'll stand for your right to be free. So it wasn't that Sikhi wasn't discovered late. Sikhi, it was a response to the prayers of the earth, crying out in suffering, that WhyGuru took their own form, came to the earth and said, I'm here to answer your prayers. Aap Narayan Kalatar Jagme Paravariyo. Says the Guru that Parameshwar WhyGuru, that formless Lord, took the physical form and they brought the Nishan Sahib. Wherever the Nishan Sahib is an answer to your question, but it's an answer to the cost of living crisis today. It was an answer to persecution in those days. And so you're in the place of a miracle. This house is a miracle house. It's a place where it doesn't matter who you are. If you come here, you can break bread with brothers as one. You can come and meditate with brothers as one. And I say that, I'm actually saying it to myself, we should recognize that we become so desensitized to come into the Gurdwara and taking for granted what we have. Everybody's walking around with Shastra. Everybody's having langar. 8:30, yeah? Okay, thank you, Bob. So, does that answer your question? Cool. So, I've been told to finish up. I thought we were finishing at 8:30, but we've been told to finish up a few minutes early. So, you're the Sangat of the Guru once again. Thank you for having me. It's such a privilege to stand before you and do vichar. If I made any mistakes, I ask for your forgiveness once again. You are the Sangat of the Guru, and hopefully, Guru Sahib will be kind to me to allow me to come and have your darshan once again. We deho sajana seesriya jo hove sahib se mel. WhyGuru ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru ji ki fateh.